everybody, it's John here. I'm interrupting tonight's broadcast for a very special and secret request. In a few days' time, it's Graeme's birthday, and I'd like to surprise him on next week's show with a few messages from you all. So if you'd like to record a little audio file, a video, you could write a song or a poem, or you could just call him a massive really, whatever suits your mood. If you could send them through to sunny16presents@gmail.com, I will make sure they go into next week's show. Graeme's here every week making sure that the show goes out. He's doing stuff behind the scenes regards organising guests, putting together the Sunny 16 shows as well, making sure they all go out. He puts a shed load of time into this, and it's because he loves doing it, but he also loves to know that people are out there, and potentially listening in part. So please send through your well wishes and your happy birthday messages to him. So that's sunny16presents@gmail.com. If you can get something to me by Sunday afternoon, that'd be great. We've just had confirmation for our next guest that we're recording on Sunday evening. So stop listening to this now. Record an audio message, record a little video, send some words through to sunny16presents@gmail.com. Thank you very much. On with the show.
Welcome to the Sunny 16 podcast for another week. It's me, Graeme. I'm here. Obviously, I've started talking. It's a dead giveaway when I start doing that. And I am here this week with two of my most favourite people. I have with me the wonderful Clare Marie Bailey. Clare, how are you?
I'm good, thank you, Graeme. Nice to be here as always.
It's lovely to have you here with your fancy new hairdo. And John, how are you?
Hey up. Yeah, I'm all good. Thank you very much. Grand to be back.
Grand to be back. Now, right at the start of the show, we're going to let listeners know that this is going to be a video show as well. This will be going out on YouTube because we've got a few show and tell bits that we want to cover this week. So if you want to see Clare's lovely new hairdo and John and myself, just not lovely new hairdo, but we just look great. The Beardy Bros, we're both here. Also, it's probably going to be a fairly short show. We're going to try and keep it a fairly short show. If you've heard these words before and you're already rolling your eyes going, "I'll believe it when I see it," that's fair. We had hoped to have a super special return guest this evening, but owing to an administrative cock-up, which was entirely my fault, he can't be with us, but we will be having him next week, so look forward to that. I won't say who it is, but it's a returning friend, and I'm just going to say a very handsome, dashing returning friend, so people will know who that is already, anybody who's listened for any length of time. So what we got this evening? Well, I had planned to delve into the listener email bag and pull out some listener emails, but it's been very, very quiet on the listener communication front lately. And most of the stuff that we've had come in has been about the lighting challenge, which is great, but that's stuff that you're going to be talking about, isn't it, John, on your upcoming lighting lounge show? So instead of that, we're just going to have a quick catch up about what we've all been up to, really. And we've got a zine to chat about. I think maybe even a couple of zines. You wanted to mention a couple, didn't you, John? So,
yes. Yeah, there's one to show.
One to show, one to talk about. But let's start off with what we've all been up to now. Clare, on the subject of terrible organisational incompetence, we missed you last week on the end of the show because you were off voting or drinking, or voting and drinking. We're not entirely sure, but you did seem a little bit in an old state of mind by the end of the evening. How did your lighting challenge go?
Well, I enjoyed the challenge, and like I said, it's interesting because if you're patient, that's what I found. Like if you listen to the audio, my first location because I missed. Can you believe it? I wanted to go to the forest near me, and because it was so dark, I actually missed the turning. So I carried on, went to a separate location. Initially thought not much of it, but with a bit of patience and circling the car and really looking, slightly changed my mind, and then it was when I came back into the car that I liked the view from outside the windscreen, and then I went to the forest. But yeah, no, they're always fun, aren't they? Time always rattles away for an hour, but I'm sorry, I haven't developed my role yet, so I can't see my results. John's shaking his head, so I do apologize.
Shameful. And did you not take any Polaroids on the night?
In the end, no, I didn't. But I have been kind of busy with Polaroids in a different way. Because I went to. Do you remember I was telling you I'd been away.
Your tower.
My tower, yeah, and it had been like postponed because of COVID. So I was trying out I don't know if you can see. I was trying out my new. I'm going the wrong way.
Left a bit, right a bit.
I'm terrible. My lights. So they definitely, the ones you've got, Graeme, they definitely made a difference. So that's one. And I was trying them. This is another one. Sorry, for listeners, I'm just holding up a couple of Polaroids, trying to show you this. This was really late at night actually, and I was going through the rainbow, as you like. And you can see this one is a bit more red and orange.
So yeah, the good tip is the camera's pointed at your face, so put the picture in front of your face.
Yeah.
What?
So I had a good play. So I had a good play with those newer lights, and when I was playing with them, I think I mentioned this on the podcast before. You can get an app for them, and I found that you can control them and perfect them better from the phone app, that if you link them. And I was playing coloured light on your face, and then keeping your face unlit, if you like, or the colours just behind you. I was trying out different things. I had a good play with those. I don't know if you've had a chance to play with yours, Graeme.
It's not my birthday yet, Claire. I haven't opened them yet. Oh my goodness, can't spoil that surprise.
Are they in the house?
Can we talk a bit? They are in the house, lights in the house. Yeah. So yeah, I'm looking forward to getting to mucking around with those, but I haven't yet, so I have nothing to say about those. But I would like to, because you said casually, oh, I was at the tower. You remember I mentioned I was going to that. Now, I think most people listening to this will go, what? What do you mean you were going to the tower? Because that's not actually a normal person thing that one does. But I think it's really interesting, as we all think of, oh, how can we expand and do more stuff with our photography? What you did was a really great way of doing that. So tell us what you mean when you say you went to the tower. You didn't get sent to London Tower for your crimes, which is weird.
A bit of history actually about the tower. I was actually in Venice a few years ago, and I was in the Guggenheim Gallery, and I actually was looking at a painting, and I saw the words. I just happened to glance, and I saw the words North Wales. So that really caught my eyes. And I saw the word Gwynedd, and I thought, what? And basically, there was a painting, and it was a bit about a collection of painters, and they'd been to stay in a village in Gwynedd called Bryn Cere. And I think Aleister Crowley, who was like into the occult, had been with them as well. So I was quite intrigued, and I thought, where's this tower? So I'd gone kind of one day on a recce to find this tower, and then I realised that you could actually hire the. So that's where I went, and I chose it because I thought not just the exterior, but the interiors as well would be like good sets and good backdrops. And so I went. That's what I was doing. So I did some still work, and I did a film there as well, a moving film. So I'm excited to get that back from being processed, to look at the footage. Yeah, so I'd been hoping to go there over Christmas holidays, but obviously COVID, it's been put off. So yeah, so that's where I'd gone.
That's really cool. I think it's like it's a
play with, and
that thing of finding a character building to go, and because and you see people doing shots in hotel rooms. I mean, there tends to be a lot of boudoir stuff. You tend to see, unfortunately, that is the instant link, but there are other spaces, other interesting spaces beyond just hotel rooms. I would imagine, especially with Airbnb these days, there's probably quite a lot of weird and wonderful places you can find to
Yeah.
go and set yourself up and have a lovely weekend away and give yourself an entirely new photographic backdrop to play with. I think that sounds like a really good plan. Really
Yeah,
good
I
start.
came about. Whatever I was in my mind at the time, I just googled pink rooms, pink hotel rooms, because I had a sort of aesthetic in my head, and it kind of came up in all that search as well. So I thought, oh, and it's close by and stuff. So that's one occasion, and then I've been doing. I'm doing it right. Listeners. So I've been doing a lot of bleaching and hand and colouring of Polaroids and just some experimentation. So don't think you can see these very, very, very well. But
Yeah. I really like that one actually. The one you just held was a picture, a portrait of is it you or you? I'm guessing it's.
always my
So,
character, yeah, and some
yeah.
bleached. I did quite a few. There's some more here.
I mean, Polaroid literally just released what do they call it? Duotone film?
Yes,
Like yellow and black, is that right?
yellow and black, which I have.
Oh, that's exciting.
And then
I know.
also, here's my inks. So ink.
Well, I've got some of them. Nice.
All right.
Do they paint on?
Can't...
Do they paint on the surface of Polaroids? Okay, then.
No, they don't, because well, not on the surface. Not on the surface. I've
Rubbish.
tried. They won't stick. But so I have to kind of find a way to play with the emulsion and get the ink inside. So if you see one, the ink,
So describe it, Claire, because most people can't see it.
yeah. So
no, holding it close is not going to make them see it if they're listening. No matter how close you hold it, no one can see it.
On one of my images, I did some, which isn't unlike me, but I did some like landscapes. So it's like a bit forest near me and the estuary. So I did some Polaroids of them. Then I've taken them home and I've kind of bleached them. Not too much. So I've bleached them and tried to loosen the emulsion.
So,
and then
so I'm going to
dye, got the ink and the dye inside the Polaroid. So it's a bit of experimentation.
So when you say bleach them, because I've never tried this process, are you what kind of bleach are you using?
Domestos.
Oh my god! I was going to say, is it Domestos? I was like, it will never be just Domestos. It is Domestos.
Yeah.
Great! I love this already. Are you just painting it on? Are you diluting it? What are you doing with it?
What am I painting on the bleach?
Yes.
I do different methods. Submerge it in bleach and water for a bit, leave it, then take it out, rinse it, rub bleach into the back. Do different techniques with it. You don't have to use Domestos. You can use a bit of like spray on bleach. But it's amazing what you can do so much with just what you've got in your kitchen cupboards, really.
Okay, that's really interesting, because I know that I've looked into bleaching photographs before bleaching prints, and you can't just use domestic bleach for that.
No.
So this is a different thing. So you're using the bleach to partially break down the picture enough that then the paints the dyes can then get in.
Yeah, that's the idea. Yeah, that's the idea. Yeah.
And did I see that like you'd basically cut open the top of the Polaroid so you could?
A couple of them I have, yeah. Some I haven't, and some I've almost literally I tried removing completely the back of it away, so it's almost like a complete transparency. So I had a good play with that one afternoon, all sorts of colours and bleach and stuff. Yeah. So,
have you shot with the new duochrome film yet? The new duo, whatever it's called.
I've shot with I have shot with the yellow, yeah.
How is it?
Yeah, it's nice, but I'm really looking forward to I'll surprise you.
I know what the surprise is. You're not surprising me.
Yeah.
I already know.
I've got some very special orange and black film that was very kindly sent to me, actually, by Jeff. He's very kindly sent it to me, so I'm really thinking hard about how I'm going to use that film.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
sounds
'cause that's
great.
the big thing.
That sounds great.
And then,
John, oh, sorry, there's
oh,
more, Claire. Go on, carry on.
yeah, to listeners, I got my book from Brian, so I'm really pleased.
Yes.
It's a great book. So this is obviously Brian Griffin's Black Country Dada book. It's got some really great images. So if you haven't got one, I really recommend getting a copy.
I'm still waiting for mine to turn up. I'm still waiting on mine, so I'm sure it'll be sent out soon. I hope. I might have to just send a message to Kickstarter to say, "Well, haven't we forgotten? Mate?" But I'm really looking forward to. You got a print as well, didn't you, Claire? With that?
Yes, I did. I went for Rush Hour London Bridge, which was the one that, if you remember, Brian was telling us he took it through the back of the taxi.
Yeah, that was the first picture that he took that really rocketed him into the public eye, isn't it?
And
That one. That was the first.
shot. Yeah, so many of his images that I love.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. That's really, really cool. Anything else, Claire?
No, I don't think so. I watched a good Orson Welles film, Mr. Arcadian, was it? Yeah, really good camera angles, because he uses really unusual camera angles, and I think, you can learn for your still work watching films. They're always quite low down. The low down shooting up, and I don't know what lens he uses. I'll have to look it up. And people filling the frame, and really, really unusual camera work. Inspirational, Orson Welles. Yeah.
Sounds good. Sounds good. John, what have you been up to?
What have I been doing? I've actually been doing some stuff this
Woo!
week. It's a bit of a switch actually, which has been great. I did the Darkroom talk this week to a local art group, Coventry Art Space, which was good fun, and I printed a large format photo that I took a couple of weeks ago of a local photographer and filmmaker called Paul Daly.
Very nice.
He's currently working on a massive documentary project, all shot on 16mm, I think it is. But hopefully we'll get him on at some point to talk about it, because that's fascinating. But yeah, so I printed that as part of a Darkroom demo. That was good fun. Obviously had some technical issues with my cameras, as is always the way, but nothing that wasn't overcome quite quickly. What else did I do? I went and assisted on a photo shoot with a photographer called Lisa Craig, who's working on a really long-term project called Holding Time, which is about mothers and breastfeeding. And she's been taking portraits for 2-3 years now, I think. And she's currently doing a series on Coventry mothers. And I went to help assist set up lights and did some behind the scenes photography as well, which I was there while I was there, which was what I love doing. So it was great back doing that, and just hearing some of the stories from these mothers as well was just inspirational about their kind of birth journey and their feeding journey as well. So that was quite a moving experience, really. What else have I been doing? And what else? I'm doing an exhibition which I can actually kind of announce now. In June. What month are we in? It's the end of June. It's happening, and it's a collaborative exhibition with myself and 3 other artists, not photographers. There's an illustrator, a painter, and a glass maker. And we're all coming together, and I'm creating images that will then be painted on, and they're all going to be exhibited in the Holy Trinity Church in Coventry at the end of June. So I'm having a mad panic at the moment regards getting those images ready, and some of them are going to be very large, possibly up to about 8-foot wide prints, which I haven't done in a long time. So I've had to completely move my darkroom around to get set up for that and go through that process again to make sure all my tanks aren't leaking, which they are.
Well, that's a problem one can have with tanks, is it? That's unfortunate.
Yeah, it's very common.
You should buy a new one. They never have that problem.
Mine's homemade, so it's got its own fault that it's leaking. But yeah, it's like I got developer and fixer everywhere, which wasn't ideal.
No.
No, but hey, it's it needed to be done now rather than when I'm actually creating the final prints. So yeah, bit of a test run for that.
You showed me some of the stuff that you were working on for that, and some of the work that the people you're collaborating with have done in the past. It looks super cool. This collaborative work effort, I think, is fantastic. This idea where you have multiple people who are all getting their hands on the same piece of art, I think, is really, really awesome. I think it makes for a really interesting end result. I was one of my clients was over visiting, and she was showing me some work. She does some painting, and her daughter is also a painter. Her daughter does it quite seriously, and they're doing something together where, you know, the daughter is doing some of the work and getting texture and color in, and then her mum's coming in, kind of stepping back and looking at it and going, okay, well, this is what I'm seeing, and then pulling out some of the detail to make it. I just find that whole idea of, I mean, I know we talk about photography as a collaborative thing in many different ways, whether it's working with models or with makeup people or with lighting or whatever it might be. There's loads of different ways that it can be a collaborative thing, but that thing of actually having one piece of work which multiple people are physically impacting the way it looks, I think that's really awesome. Really fun stuff.
I'm finding it hard because I find it very difficult to kind of let go after I've made a print and do further processes to my own work. So actually handing it off to somebody else to just do whatever they want is like, I've just got to let it happen. But yeah, it's fascinating.
Seems like a dream to me. Your problem now.
I am quite enjoying that, because normally when it comes to exhibiting, I'm doing things last minute and like panicking, whereas because of the workflow of this, I've actually got to get my part of it done a lot earlier in advance so it can go on to them. So I can actually just sit back and relax in the couple of weeks before the exhibition, which is that's a rarity.
So you said the exhibition's happening end of June. Did you say where it was? Sorry, John.
In the Holy Trinity Church, which is in Coventry City Centre. Yeah, we're very lucky to have that as a venue, and connected to that, we're very fortunate that about 3 weeks ago, myself and Amanda, who I'm working with, we went up the spire, which isn't open to the public. So I was able to get some aerial city shots from up there, which was just a phenomenal experience. And I really wanted to take large format shots, but there wasn't even enough room to set a tripod up. So I was like, and I'm not very good with heights, so I just kind of wanted to get it done quickly and get back down.
You did get some lovely pictures from there, though. I've seen those. They looked great. They looked really cool. Did you get your pictures developed from the lighting challenge last week?
No, not yet.
That's a very positive no.
It's here. It's still in the canister. I've actually run out of developer, so I ordered some more today. I did a massive order from AG Photographic today to get that roll paper in and stuff. So I've ordered some more developer so I can get that done as well at the weekend.
Buying bulk roll paper, how much does it cost to buy a roll of paper? I need this eye-watering information. How much was that?
Do I want to reveal this? So
I mean, people can go to AG and look. It's not a secret.
It's not listed on their website. They've had to order it specifically for Milford, but they will list it eventually. I think it's 50 inches wide and 10 meters long, and it's about £200.
That's a spicy meatball. Yeah,
it's spicy.
And you've got to cut it all.
Yeah, but actually, like, if you compare that to, say, like sheets, I think it actually is significantly cheaper if you were able to cut it all up yourself. But yeah, handling the rolls of paper is not an easy task by yourself. But
yeah,
that'd be all right.
It'll be grand. And what developer did you order? What flavour developer did you go for?
Multigrade.
But for the film, no, you said you had to order some film developer.
Oh, sorry,
as well.
I'm ID11.
ID11.
Bog standard. Oh, I ordered some microphone as well, because that's what I use when I push HB5.
I really need to settle into a developer. So I've used HC10 a lot over the last few years, which is great. HC10 goes with everything, but then that I'd had that for too long, so I stopped using that because I thought I'm going to stop before it bites me on the butt. And just bought a bottle of Ilfosol 3 locally because I could grab it, and I know Ilfosol 3 is good. It's a great, reliable developer. But then over the weekend, because I'm a good person and do what I say I'm going to do, and I did actually develop my sheet film that I shot at the lighting challenge last week, and another roll of film, and there were no times for Fomapan 200 in Ilfosol, so I ended up trying out a developer that I bought. I think I bought 3 bottles of it 2 years ago because it was cheap at the secondhand darkroom. I was like, let's not buy some of this. It's cheap. Why wouldn't I? And it's Technol Paranol S. I don't know whether either of you have ever come across this. I think it's basically Technol's version of Rodinol. Is my very limited understanding from having knowledge. But I mean, I tried it. It developed pictures. I haven't actually got as far as scanning them yet. But you know, I have pictures. There you go. Nobody can see that, but there's pictures of my better half. So, but I need to settle on the developer because it's one of those things that when we keep changing, chopping and changing, you never know what you're getting results wise.
I remember trying a few developers years ago, and I just stuck with ID11 just because it's really cheap. It comes in powder form, so if I don't mix it up straight away, it's not a problem. Like I buy it in 5 litre like mixes. It lasts a long time, and you get great results with it. Like I'm sure it's not brilliant in all scenarios, but it's good in all the scenarios that I use it for. So and that's it. Once you've got that kind of consistent, then like you know where there are problems. Then you know, like if you find out that something's always overexposed, you adjust it at your camera point rather than messing around with a different developer or anything like that.
Yeah, I think that makes way more sense than having half a dozen different developers that you're using for different films, and you want something that's going to be fairly universal. Otherwise, you end up with, as I frequently do, multiple bottles of stuff open and just not being used frequently enough and going bad, and stuff doesn't last forever, does it? What's your go-to developer, Claire?
Same as John.
Really? I've never even tried ID11. ID11, now that's Ilford's
Kodak D76 is the same.
D76. Okay, that's good to know. Okay, well maybe next time I get some. When I've used all of the Paranol S that I've got, also the big bottle of Ultra Thin that I also bought. I'm not sure. Maybe that's the one that's Rodinol. I don't know. That might be their HC110 equivalent. I
chuck
bought
them
a
all
lot of
out
developer
and get some ID11.
No,
in fact,
I'm not going to chuck them all out.
You can have some of mine when I see you on Sunday.
Oh yeah, okay. So let's talk about this because this is very exciting. Because it's very exciting for me. This is the thing that I think I've mentioned a couple of times in the past, in passing, that I bought I wasn't at an auction. I did this through an enabler who is Simon Forster. I had been looking for a large format enlarger so that I could, obviously I'm shooting and enjoying shooting large format, but I have no way of making prints from it other than contact prints. So I've been looking for a large format enlarger, but they're quite expensive, unsurprisingly. And then Simon got in touch and went, there's this thing on an auction site, like I said, not eBay, but like a proper physical auction site, but they were doing it all online, could see it all. You should bid on this. And basically it was like a box of bits that is claiming to be an enlarger. It is an MPP Micromat, I think, MPP Micromat cold press enlarger. And I did bid on it, and I was lucky enough to win it. And it was very cheap for a large format enlarger. It was very cheap. It's especially cheap at the moment because I haven't actually paid Simon for it. Depending on how it goes when I see him on Sunday, I may not pay him for it. But I'm excited about this prospect. I'm also slightly nervous about it because it looks interesting, doesn't it, John? It looks like an interesting contraption.
I'm not convinced you're ever going to use it, but we'll see.
Simon says, which is always a dodgy way to start a sentence. Simon says it's a very, he says beautiful enlarger, which is weird. I think Simon's developing slightly fetishistic attachment to it. But
I don't think it's going to be so beautiful that you'll be able to keep it on your, say, dining room table and it be accepted in that environment.
You never know. I think industrial art, sculpture, it might work quite well in that. But I bought a table specifically for it. I'm hoping that the table that I bought for it and the position that I've got it in my shed is going to give me enough headroom, because this has been the biggest problem with wanting a large format enlarger. My shed just isn't very tall, and I can't really put a chimney on it, which is what it could really do. So I've got a low table, and I'm hoping that having it at the back of the shed where it's at its tallest will give me enough room to get high enough to do the size of prints that I do. It's not as if I'm doing massive prints anyway, so I think it'll be okay. It's an autofocus enlarger, which neither Simon nor I really understood that concept. So, John, as you explained it to me, please can you explain what an autofocus enlarger is for the folks at home?
I didn't understand it either. I had to look it up, but it was really obvious when I found the answer. And it's not the fact that it autofocuses. It means that once you've focused it, you could then change the size of the image by moving the head up and down, and it will stay in focus when you do that. Like normally on a large, when you do that, you then have to refocus by moving the bellows of the lens board. But on an autofocus enlarger, that distance automatically changes as you move it up and down the column, I believe.
It's got cams and stuff, and I think it for it to work properly, it needs to be used. The cams need to be matched with the lenses. So I'm hoping that the lenses that are with it are the original ones. And listen, I mean, it's a box of bits, but the light does apparently turn on. So anyway, John and I are going up to collect that from Simon from the Six Towns Dark Room on Sunday. So looking forward to that, and I'm really hoping it works. I have to say that I am keeping my old enlarger because assuming that we can get it working, get it all connected up and plugged in and all working properly, because it's going to have to be on a very low table to be able to fit in there. It's not going to be the most fun thing to work from. So I will just use it for 4x5 enlargements. Apparently it can go up to 5x7 actually. I'm not sure I've got the bits needed, but it could do 5x7, also 6x12, which is exciting. So I will use it for those things which I can't do elsewhere, but normal 35mm and 6x6, 6x4, 5 I'll still do on my Meoptera Optimus, because that's just going to be a much more pleasant working height. But yeah, I'm excited by it, and at least if it's a nightmare, it wasn't an expensive nightmare, so that's great. That's the best kind of nightmare to have, right, John?
Definitely.
Yeah, like I said, you're not convinced by this at all, are you?
I think if you had the environment to have it set up in a more usable space, you would probably end up using it for everything. But as is, I don't know actually, because you haven't got any other options for large format.
Yeah,
large format, like that print that I showed you earlier, the large format, even at 8x10, it's magical, isn't it? You know,
yeah.
like, scans of large format look great, but to actually do a print of a large format neg is brilliant. So yeah, that bug might bite you, and you might just go for it. Fingers crossed. Yeah. I'm hopeful for you.
Fingers crossed. Well, at the very least, Simon assures me it looks beautiful, and it'll just be a piece of art in my darkroom, my massive, massive darkroom, which definitely has room for a 6-foot art installation in the corner. So, hey, I'm looking forward to that.
I realised something today that I'm very grateful for, and that is the day we're going to collect it. It's one day short of still not being able to hug each other, so I'm really happy about that.
We'll see about that. I do feel like this is the thing, isn't it? When the government says to you from Monday onwards you can hug, which is one of those great sentences you see on the news thing, and think, oh, that's hilarious. Just to read that is hilarious. But I did feel like I needed to put a broadcast out to family and friends saying, obviously from Monday onwards we are allowed to hug each other, so please know that if I still do not hug you, it's purely because I just don't want to get close to you. It is no longer sanctioned. But yeah, I'm looking forward to things changing going forward. It's interesting talking to both of you guys, like the fact that you've been away doing this stuff at the Tower, Claire and John, you've been doing these talks and you've been actually out doing stuff again this week. It all feels like stuff is starting to happen again. Pace is starting to build up, and along with that, our own energy and enthusiasm is starting to get lifted up again, after being quite depressed. Not as in feeling mentally depressed, but just like pushed down by the weight of everything else this year. It's great. It's exciting.
It's one of those things that I didn't really recognize that it was happening to me at the time, but now that I'm starting to experience photographic endeavors again, it's highlighted to me how kind of numb I've been for like the last 6 months, creatively. So it's brilliant to kind of feel that enthusiasm again. So
yeah, it's a real good feeling. It's a real good feeling. For my part, as I've already mentioned, I got my 4x5 negs developed over the weekend. So that was fun. Always good to get in the darkroom and do that. And I was having a dig around, and as I mentioned on last week's show, the fact that I'd been into Whitney and taken some pictures, and I actually, this is one of the things I've got to show and tell. So I talked about this camera. I've mentioned it a few times, so I'm afraid this doesn't help listeners, but this camera that I'm holding up now, this is my, I haven't got a good name for it yet, but this is the camera that is a Yashica. So if I turn it that way, that is the front of a Yashica LM44, the 127 camera, and this is the back of it. The rest of it is just the box that my mobile phone came in. These lovely wooden handles here, they're off my Ondu pinhole camera. I needed some handles, so so I enjoyed using that when I was going out around Whitney, and it made me think, oh, again, the results from this are interesting, and I want to do more with it. And it got me back to thinking about the fact that I'm always complaining about my environment and the stuff here not being inspiring. And as I did with my Myopic Me project of using the very blurred out lens, I need to use different tools to approach it, because just going out with ordinary cameras and ordinary lenses that are going to capture the world as it is doesn't work for me. So along with that, the other camera that I dug out this week after John and Aid and I were talking about these things after we recorded last week, and it put it back into my mind, is a camera that I only put, well, I thought I'd only put one more, but it is this camera. This is so big. There we go. Now, this is the Kraken, which is made, it's a 3D printed camera. And this is made by Graeme Young from the Homemade Camera podcast. It's a 3D printed 6x12 camera that he very kindly sent me well over a year ago now. And you fix a large format lens onto the front of it. This one, I said, Graeme will print these off and send them to you, or you can buy the plans and do them yourself if you have a 3D printer. And you print off the correct cone to go with the lens that you're using, and you buy a helicoid, a focusing helicoid, which is how you focus, obviously. And then you have a means of putting a very good lens on the front of a camera that is going to shoot 6x12, which is a really interesting, really fun format to work with.
What lens have you got on the front of that?
So I've got a 150mm lens on the front of this, because that's the only lens I had at the time. And I was flicking back through the results, and it reminded me, oh yeah, this camera can do stuff that, because you've got that 2:1 ratio, aspect ratio, and using essentially a shallow depth of focus 50mm lens equivalent on the front of it, that can give you some really good fun effects. And I thought I'd only put one roll of film through it. When I went to get it all set back up again, because I'd taken the lens off because I was using it with my large format camera. That's the one downside. It's a bit of a faff getting the lens on and off there. So I thought, okay, no, I know I'm going to use this. I'm going to just get it back on here. I found another roll of film shot in there, as it was. I only got, hang on, where did I put it? Anyway, oh, here we go. This shows you, again, you won't be able to see these very well, but this shows you the size of the negatives. And yeah, so I'm looking forward to using that again. much like my homemade camera. They're both cameras that I know if I spend more time shooting with both of them and really getting to know them in the way that people who shoot regularly with Holgers and other similar cameras get to know and understand the framing on those, I'm going to get better results from them, because my homemade camera has no viewfinder, and the Kraken does have like a top mounted plastic viewfinder, but it's a very basic viewfinder you're just looking through. So I'm excited about doing more, playing around with that, and hopefully just squeezing more out of the space that I've got around me, because I'm not moving house anytime soon, and I'm not going on holiday anytime soon. So either I have to work with what I've got around me, or not take any pictures, and I don't want to do that. So I think that those two cameras and my large format, my Carbon Adventurer, I think are probably going to be my main weapons of choice for the immediate future. And I'm kind of quite excited about all of that. I did also just want to show the listeners on here again, or the viewers, apologies, but because I think this was, I talked about it last week. This is the Polaroid of Sinead that I took. That was the one I was particularly pleased with. It's blurry, and it's probably even more blurry showing that. But that was my one shot from last week that I was happy with. And I said, I think you get one shot for something.
What was your light source again, Graeme? Was it a torch?
No, so for that particular picture, for that session where I took the large format pictures and that Polaroid, I used the LED lamp, which I'm going to swing briefly into view here now. Hang on, let me see if I can get that across. Which is just, it's just there you go.
Yeah.
It's not very strong. I just use it to illuminate my face badly now that I've moved it. Shouldn't have done that. It's not a very powerful light source, and I had to have it really close to Sinead's face. And I was surprised that.
Was she holding it?
No, it's actually, because it's a desk lamp, but it's mounted. It's meant to clamp onto a desk, so it's like an angle poised lamp, but instead of having a base, it clamps on. So it's quite good and flexible, quite handy for that. And I was quite surprised, Claire. I mentioned this last week, but you weren't here because you were lost in the wilds. I was quite surprised that the Polaroid camera that I used, which is a Polaroid Sun 600, I think it was. It's one of the basic Polaroids. I was expecting it to have a fairly static shutter speed, whereas clearly what it did was it slowed that shutter speed down to try and expose the picture in a far smarter way than I was imagining. So with the two pictures that I took with it, both of them, this is the other one I took from the night before. That's the vase of flowers. So again, you can see that the camera, it slowed the speed down, so I got blurring and movement, but it actually exposed the picture properly, and I wasn't expecting it to do that, because the Instax pictures, which I also have here, they're just dark. Whoop, wait, left a bit, right a bit. They're just dark, and that was more frustrating.
Is that Instax, that one?
Yeah, that's the Instax. So,
how close were you in front of Sinead? Because you have to be actually really, really close, I think, with Polaroid, closer than people really might imagine.
But there's a limit, though, isn't there? Especially with, I know you use, you got an SX70, haven't you, that you primarily use?
Yeah, and 680. But I find that with them, generally you tend to have to be quite close.
But there's a limit to how close you can get before it won't focus. And I think if you're closer than the meter with my cameras, which are the basic ones, you're not going to be in focus. Now, obviously, that doesn't really matter if you're also going to be blurred. But I mean, I couldn't be closer than the meter with that without it, because even when I've shot them in good light with the flash, if I'm closer than the meter, then I'm out of that focus. What's the closest you can focus with your cameras?
I don't know. I'd have to demonstrate
a foot.
This far.
But it's usually, I always, because I've learned, you always have to be a lot closer than you think you do with a Polaroid camera, and you just get used to it from using it. But if I was shooting another individual, I would say to them, you know, I'm probably going to be quite close to you.
Yeah.
So just in case they think, what's she doing? She's coming like right at me.
Yeah.
You're
No,
usually closer to someone than you can, you know, than
fill the frame with it.
and when I'm doing my own my sort of self-portraits on the tripod and in the characters, sometimes you'd be surprised at how close that camera is to make sure you fill
Yeah.
the frame and you're not kind of blurred.
Again, it comes back to that thing, isn't it, of getting to know the tools that you're using. By repeatedly, you get a feel for that, and yeah, that makes sense. So anyway, that's what I've been up to this week. I think that is everything. It is, yeah, and we've already waffled on quite a lot. So let's move on to Zine Talk. Play the Zine Talk theme tune, John.
And my camera stopped working right at the moment that I was singing that
It's
song.
caught John mid beep boop. Just
it's properly got stuck, hasn't it?
This is the joy. This is what you miss out on when you're not watching the video. You don't get to see John frozen mid action. Well, whilst John tries to remedy that, let's at least briefly. Actually, what I will do.
I think my Zine camera is still working, so let's bring that up quickly. Here we go.
Okay, so
there we
you
go.
bring that up. Good. Whilst
Zine
you
camera.
are showing the zine off, I will read through the letter that was sent to us by Ian, who we talked about this briefly last week. So thank you very much, Ian, for sending us this. So, dear Sunny16, please find enclosed a copy of my new zine, Passing Through Paddington. It's my first attempt at a printed booklet zine. This is obviously different. Ian made this fantastic book on stereo photography, which we talked about last year, but this is a different.
Yeah.
And it's a collection of photographs curated from about a year-long series that I took commuting into London. In the same way that the folded A4 mini zine, that was another great thing we got from Ian, Moments in Motherwell, which is that A4 piece of paper, which was great, I sent you some months back, was a product of my travel as a part of my work. This new production, Passing Through Paddington, is also the result of carrying a 35mm camera as I travelled to and from work in central London. I've been looking for a photography project, but found I already had one amongst the photographs I had taken before retiring last year. In the photographs in this scene, I've tried to capture something of the experience of commuting to London. This is a mixture of fervent travel and waiting around, of crowds and quieter corners, of seeing the same people stand in the same place day after day, and of being surrounded by the great architecture of Brunel's Paddington Station. These pictures were taken pre-pandemic, and some of the crowd scenes now look to me strangely of another age. Including the cover, there are 26 A5 images in this publication, and hopefully they convey some of my feelings and experience of the journey. It's been fun putting them together, and I've had them spiral bound to enable the booklet to be left open to any image that takes your fancy. There's a little mention of the Sunny 16 podcast at the back of the booklet because the show is constant inspiration to try new things with my photography. I find it is great to hear weekly the enjoyment that everyone gets exploring the possibilities of analog photography. I was going to see, I sent John a copy of this zine as well, which we are all seeing. Well, we're not all seeing. If you're listening to this, sadly, you aren't seeing. But again, maybe go to the video and you can see this. As I enjoy getting his choosing and losing zine. Indeed, it's one of the things that encouraged me to create this publication. I'm happy to send other Sunnies a copy if they would like one. Just ask them to email or message me. And here's the important bit. This zine is available in my Etsy store, which is On a Hill Road, all one word, or via the link on my website, which is www.onahillroad.com. The price is £5, including postage in the UK, and I can send it abroad, but as a mere £3.50 postage. Best regards from Ian. Thank you very much, Ian. I think this scene is really awesome because I think Ian's done a fantastic job capturing the spirit of Paddington Station. And you travel quite a lot, Claire. I know you have as well, John. Places like big train stations like Paddington and airports as well, they have a really weird energy to them, don't they? And
Mhm.
I think that's what Ian has really managed to capture in this zine, is the unique energy that these travel hubs have. What do you think of it, Claire? Because you've not seen it before.
I really like when John was turning the pages. Well, I like the one you're on now, and I like the one someone stood on the. Sorry for listeners. It's someone was on a platform. Someone was on a platform. It's a few back. Carry on.
It's great because I think that's what I really like about this scene,
I
is
like
that
Rain as well.
there's a real cross section of stuff, from the crowd scenes to individual tiny moments to, as you said, the quiet corners. If you've never visited Paddington Station, this is a great way to get an insight into it.
Yeah.
The
Yeah, I
way
like that.
he's got it bound as well with the spiral binding to be able to turn it round and see the different like between the portrait and the aspect ratio works really well. I think that's a really smart idea, and it's something I struggle with with zine formats, because if you can imagine, if your zine is landscape like that and you try and put in a long portrait style shot, you're only getting like that much of the page used, aren't you? So you're wasting it and losing a lot of detail in that image. So I think that's a really clever way around it.
It's the nice thing about there being so many zines being made these days, is that people are trying different things, exploring new ways of doing it, and you get. I mean, I'm sure this stuff has all been done before, but you're more likely to be exposed to it because there's more people doing it, and get ideas that you can take away from it.
I like it. And it's a good focus of subject as well, because it's a good combination. Because I really like architecture, and I think a lot of the stations, the London stations, and London generally has lovely architecture. And also, I like the fact that it's one of those, the images I think will sort of get better and better as time goes on, because they're the sort of images I love to see, say 15, 20 years from now, and you think, oh look, and look at their hats, or look at those coats or something. So I like that. That's a really nice scene.
Yeah,
I think
the one that,
no, which is the what? Which is the one that goes to, which is the station that goes to Cardiff? Is that Paddington? It's Paddington, isn't
probably, yeah.
it? Yeah. It's a big one. Paddington's really big, isn't it?
Paddington's massive. Paddington's warming. Yeah, I mean, that picture that John is showing now, which is a scene looking across the I'm sure there's a proper word for it. Platform. That's the word. It's a good trainee word. Looking across the platform, and there's the stairs going up, and there's a good amount of people. It's not crowded, but there's a good amount of people there. But that's a really good example of what you were saying, Claire, of a kind of picture which it's a beautifully constructed picture now, and you can appreciate it now. But as time goes on, all the elements that are part of it, the style of clothing that people are wearing, the signage that's in there, all of these things are only going to get more and more interesting as they disappear and get changed. Yeah, it's great. Really cool zine.
What I love about this image is it's the sort of scene that, as you can see from the people in it, they're not aware of this scene because they're all engrossed in their own worlds. They're either reading a book, looking at their phone, or walking to their platform. And if you were traversing through the station as well, you might not see the detail that's going on in this scene, and it's been captured really well. And it's nice to spend some time kind of getting lost in all the characters there and wondering what they're doing and everything like that.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's some characters, isn't there? If you were to hang out on Paddington Station all day, you'd see some real characters.
Probably get arrested, I would think.
No.
And also, this is because I'm pretty sure I remember reading this. I think Ian shot all of this, on an Olympus trip. You know, the good old Olympus trip. There's a reason that camera is still really popular.
No, it's nice.
Great little camera. That's awesome. John, you wanted to mention about another zine. Have you managed to kick your actual face camera into gear yet?
No, not yet.
Get to look at your static mug.
You have you got something else to mention?
Well, didn't you want to mention Andrew's zine as well?
I did, but I need to sort out my computer before I do that.
Sort out your face.
I think I can bring it up. There we go. Let's have a look. There we go. That'll do. Andrew Walmsley has also made a zine called what's it called? Desolation. But having looking at the website now, they're out of stock, but it still looks very interesting, and I think it's his first zine that he's done. As he says, the intention of the project was very simple, to have fun, something that's lacking, often neglected, and this type of work is about history and documenting something frozen in time, images that should make you ask what happened and why. But yeah, well done, Andrew. That's great work.
Yeah, it's great.
What was the car one? Sorry,
it's an Astra.
It looked like an old car. Is it a car?
It's a Vauxhall Astra. It's relatively old. I mean, it's not. I wouldn't say it's a true classic, but you know, people probably disagree vehemently with me. Well, I think that's about everything then, isn't it, guys?
I think so.
I think so. Yeah.
John and his frozen face.
Yeah, I'm not going to be able to get this resolved, am I?
I'm sure you will, John. You can work with it. Before we get out of here, want to take the opportunity, because we don't do these kind of more informal backing papery style shows as often as as you used to. Now, it's worth pointing out, this is not all on us. Well, it's mostly on us because we don't do them. But when we started to refresh back August last year, that's much better.
What's happened now?
You've probably broken it. We've just got like static video colors blasting across the screen. That's good. Some small edit might be needed at this point in the show.
I really like it.
It's psychedelic.
Well, I think it's still recording okay here. So
is it? Oh, good. Well, okay, that's fine. I'll seamlessly edit that bit of audio out, or I'll leave it. One of the two. Yes, well, as I was saying, when we started this, our plan was that we were going to do backing paper 1 week to deal with, all of our listener communication stuff and talk to the community and all that stuff, and Sunny 16 podcast to have our guests on and do that kind of stuff on the other week. But our listener communication, probably because everyone was quite locked down and not being able to do stuff and talk about it, dried up like the Sahara Desert. Now, we would love to engage with you guys more, to hear more about what you're doing, whatever it is, what you're thinking about, what you're passionate about, what you've missed doing this last year, what you're excited about doing, all of that good stuff. If you get in touch with us more, we will do more shows like this, do more email shows. And it's something I personally really miss, all the emails. So if you've got something you want to get in touch with us about, please do. The other thing that we don't do very often, because we don't get the chance to, and we're normally very focused on our guests and what we're doing, but that is to say thank you so much to all of our coffee supporters. You guys are amazing. So thank you very much, everybody who does support us through coffee. It's hugely appreciated. Everybody who supports us now and everybody who has supported us over the last couple of years. It has enabled us to do a load of stuff that we would find a lot more difficult if you didn't do it. It's enabling us at the moment. It enables Claire and Rachel to be able to do and record their podcasts, Underexposed, which Rachel, we put out that show last week, and Claire, your on film podcast.
Yeah, thank you.
If it wasn't for the coffee stuff, we wouldn't be able to pay for the Google stuff that we have that enables us to do that. The fact that Claire, you're going to be going off to the what's it? Experimental Photography Festival later in the year, and we're going to be able to send you away with a recording device to hopefully get some sweet interviews and stuff like that. All of this stuff is thanks to you guys who are supporting us. We are hugely grateful. I love the fact that we've got a blank Polaroid where John was now. I'm not sure whether that's an improvement or not, but it's great. All of this good stuff. So I know we don't say it often enough, but please know that we think it all the time. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. Claire, is there anything else this week you want to let listeners know about?
No, I don't think there is, Graeme. Nothing that I can think of.
No?
No.
John, assuming that you're still here and haven't been eradicated, no matter what your picture frame may say.
I am
Anything
still
from
here.
you?
I am still here. I'd like to propose a little prompt for people to email in with, and that is, I've reignited my love for behind-the-scenes photography this week, and I'd like to pose the question: what has been your favourite thing to photograph behind the scenes? And if you haven't done any, what would be the one thing you would love to do?
That's a very good prompt. Very good prompt. Have you got any upcoming stuff on your YouTube channel, John?
No, I haven't. I haven't got time at the moment, unfortunately, to plan. I might do when I do a mural print, one of these big prints for the exhibition. I might attempt to record some of it at the same time and put that on my YouTube channel. So that might be quite an interesting little bit of behind the scenes of that process.
And at the very least, go to John's channel, because very recently he posted a very short film that he made, shot on. You tell us what it is, John, because I'll get it wrong.
It's a stop motion animation of a dice rolling shot on 36 frames of FP4 and then pieced together into a little movie.
It's very cool. It's very cool. I was delighted when I saw that. So go and check that out as well. Well, we said this was going to be a short show. We lied. What are you going to do? But, an hour, it's at least not a long show. So I guess that's something. At least we're not awful liars. But we will get out of here now and leave you guys to enjoy the rest of your week and your upcoming weekend. And look forward to future weeks made up of hugs and pubs and hopefully more good times. I think things are going to get better. I'm looking forward to seeing you on Sunday, John, and I'm looking forward to hopefully seeing a lot more listeners in the very near future. I know we've already got one photo walk that I think is already fully booked going on in Oxford in June. There will be more coming. We're going to start cranking out photo walks. I think we'll get more stuff organized very soon because we need to get back together. We will play you out, as always, with Rachel's fantastic music from the band Roja, which you can find in all the usual awesome places you can find music. Check out Sunny 16 Presents. At the end of this week, we're going to have the next episode, probably end this weekend, whenever, episode 11 of I Dream of Cameras. We've also got a cool bit of listener content coming in from our friend of the show, Paul Friday. That will be out this week. And Rachel's Underexposed with the wonderful Jenny Sampson and Claire was out last week. Lots of stuff to listen to there. Thank you very much for listening / watching this week from myself, from Claire, and for John, who I assure you is still here somewhere. Thanks, everybody. And goodbye.
Goodbye.
Good night.